So how many people have got logged in? We've got to get in on
At least 10. 20, 29, yeah.
Oh, so we've already got 29 people. All right. So the question is, what do all these guns have in common? And if you want to walk up and do a quick...
Yeah, let's go a bit closer.
Oh, are we giving something away?
What do you reckon about those?
Yeah, we'll give that hat away.
We'll give this hat away to whoever gets in first with what's the commonality between all these guns that are on the bench now.
It's pretty old, Joel. It's pretty old, mate. But it works, and that's all we need. So, stop picking on my printer.
It's not that old.
Do I say it to the camera, Trent?
Stop picking on my printer, Joel. Stop it. Does a good job. Leave it alone.
Right, so we got a couple of handguns here, shotguns, centerfire rifles, rimfire rifles. What do all these have in common? That is the question.
Well, Matty Lloyd's already answered it.
There's he, that
Yeah, Matty Lloyd doesn't count.
I'm kind of disappointed.
No, Matty Lloyd, you don't get the prize, mate.
No, Matt Lloyd gets the prize.
we'll give you a prize, but we want someone out of the non-gun world or non-real gun world who can tell us what.
Yeah, someone who's not a gun nerd
Like
to
that.
tell us what the.
Well, Scoops
Well,
reckons,
they'll just read his comment and put it in. But, yeah,
Scoops reckons that they're all Winchesters.
they're all Winchesters. You are wrong, Scoops.
Scoops,
You are very wrong.
Nick Holtz.
What's he said?
He said John Moses Browning.
Oh, okay. Nick Holtz has got.
Yeah, what about Browning?
Yeah, what about Browning?
Yeah, we'll have to concede. But some very early Brownings here, some very late Brownings.
On the plus side, Nick Holtz is going to look great in a fucking flat hat. He get out and hang out with all the boys at the Golden fucking shops.
Alright, so starting at this end, we've got a Browning 22 long rifle. So this is made in Belgium. This is an orthopedic grip semi-automatic 22 used in ISSF shooting.
Is that a buck mark?
Yes. No.
Prior to Buckmark.
Oh, it's Pride Buckner.
Yeah.
So-
Buckmark is a simplified, bastardised version of that. That's equivalent to pretty well the best 22 handguns ever made. Precise, very nice.
If you're into that.
It's the yeah. If you're into 22 handguns, it's the.
It doesn't hold a candle to Pardini, Bill.
No, well, it's in a different class to Pardini for sure. But
Or a high stand.
the
You want to get stabbed, don't you?
It's right there in the
the early Colt Woodsmaster is the ancestor to this, really. This is where Woodmaster really ended up. Well, where Browning's designs ended up after he designed a Woodmaster originally for Colt.
And this is a copy of an original Colt. This is made by Kimber, but it's a 1911 pistol.
Yep, 1911.
Colt 1911. So they got a very specific grip angle and the way that they function and everything.
Is it a 1911 or is it a 1911 A1?
This is a 1911 A1 frame. It's slightly different. It's an original 1911 backstrap. The later A1s have got a curved backstrap to them. What were the other minor things that were different? There's not much else different.
The main mechanics of the actual gun.
Yeah, the mechanics of the gun are identical to the original 1911 that came out. The later ones, which they made and called gold cups, which were the only ones made after World War II. The American Army had oodles of them made during the war. After the war, in 1957, Colt came out with what they called the gold cup, which was a targetized version, and they had a different front guide bushing in them, and spring-loaded fingers that kept the barrel in exactly the same place all the time.
But that's the original pistol design by Browning.
Yeah.
That came out 1911. It was in 45 AC.
That's right, yeah.
All right. So the next one. So Nick Holtz has won the hat. Come in any time and grab that, Nick.
This is a typical example of what Browning do a lot of nowadays. They subcontract out their designs to other manufacturers, This is the Browning lever action 22. Tube magazine's fed. Just a very short stroke 22. This is actually made by Morocco in Japan, and Morocco make sell these under their own name as well. But this one,
They certainly did at one stage. Yeah.
pardon?
I don't know if they still do. They certainly did at one stage.
Yeah, they certainly did at one stage anyway. And they're identical. We used to buy Morocco parts to fix Brownings and vice versa when we could. But yeah, this is Browning's Arms Company of Morgan, Utah, but made in Japan by Morocco. And now we go to something that Browning might not be quite as proud of as some of his other.
And he was probably proud of it.
This is the 1887 lever action shotgun. This is a copy made by the Chinese, but this is a pretty close copy of what Browning designed for Winchester.
Made by John Browning.
Eh? What's that?
I thought it was funny, Jane. I feel bad about laughing though.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't laugh either.
Okay,
Yeah. Winchester, Browning had sold Winchester a heap of lever action designs for rifles, and the managing director of Winchester at the time said that nobody wants a pump action or semi-automatic, we all want lever action. So Browning designed him a lever action shotgun, and Winchester manufactured it under the model, pardon me, of 1887, and it was reasonably successful. It was a strong shotgun. It was made in 10, 12 and 20 gauge. I've got a feeling it may have even been made in 410, but
It's a horrible piece of shit.
Was that what fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger
Arnie
used in
used,
Terminator?
Yeah, I think it was. He had an Ithaca 1887, didn't he?
Arnie reckoned it was fabulous. But then what would Arnie know? He knew how to run California, but that was about it.
Still does run California.
Does he? Oh, I thought he.
No, I don't think he's governor of California.
No.
Anyway,
Jesse
I'll go down the other end now.
governor of some
And I'll-
town in
where's these
bloody Alabama or something. Louisiana.
This is one of Browning's early lever action rifle designs. He'd actually designed and sold to Winchester the 1876 design, and then he'd tidied it up a bit and brought out this new design, the 1892, which was very successful. It was in the short almost pistol-like cartridges in 4440, 3220, 2520, 3840. It uses a pair of sliding blocks that lock that come up and lock the bolt into the receiver. They've got mortises carved into the block end of the receiver. Cocks the hammer at the same time. They came in long and short magazines. This is a rifle, not a carbine, and it's a full-length magazine. They had half mags which finished at the fore end, and mostly crescent style butt plates, which weren't so bad with these, but in the bigger calibre it hurt a little bit. And then with the coming of smokeless powders, Winchester wanted to upgrade almost immediately when they decided they could use nickel steels in the barrels, which would prolong the life of the barrels. Browning designed them another gun, another lever action, for the longer cartridges, and this came out in first in 30-30 Winchester, which was 30 calibre, 30 grains of black powder, but it was very quickly changed to smokeless. And it is even a stronger design. It has a travelling block that comes up behind the bolt, the bolt goes back and cocks the hammer, of course. When you shut the system, it lifts the block up behind the bolt, and it's got a little transfer pin there, so the hammer hits the transfer pin to hit the firing pin. So if you haven't got the lever completely closed, you can't press the trigger anyway because there's a little interrupter there. But even if the hammer fell, it can't go off unless it's properly closed, which is just a typical Browning design feature that you would put into things.
The thing I've often found odd about the 94 though is just the way the floor plate's got to drop down to get the leverage out of it.
That cam type system.
Yeah.
It's
Like, I can't imagine that the Russians, that would have worked well for the Russians in the trenches with the 95s they had.
no, that's right. Yeah. Browning sold Winchester something like 40 odd different designs and patents, and Winchester just kept buying them because they knew if they didn't buy them, someone else would, and they didn't want to lose Browning as a designer. And they only ever manufactured about 20 odd of Browning's designs, and they knocked back a few, and one of them they knocked back is this one here, the venerable Browning A5 shotgun, semi-automatic. Browning took it to Winchester, and the people he was dealing with at Winchester said, no one wants a semi-automatic shotgun. Oh, terrible thing, you know.
They're unsporting.
Yeah, terribly unsporting. And so he licensed Remington and Savage to build it in America. But prior to this, he'd been talking to the management of FN. They'd come to America to actually see him, to see what he was doing. And they were very interested in little pocket pistol handgun designs. And Browning had a few ideas in his mind. And when he licensed Remington and Savage to build these shotguns, he went to Belgium to speak to these people more, and took this design with him, and they loved it. And they had such a big manufacturing facility, they launched into manufacturing it, and they carried on manufacturing it from around about the very early 1900s, like I think around about 1909, 1910, right through, I can't remember when I think it was in the 80s when they stopped making them, but they've now reintroduced them again. And they're very recognisable because of this, they call them the humpback, because the system he developed is that the bolt and the barrel are locked together. There's an extension on the barrel that the bolt locks up into. And when you fire it, the barrel and the bolt recoil together. The bolt is locked back. The return spring pushes the barrel back into battery. And when that happens, it trips the little lever in the side here. A cartridge comes out of the magazine onto the lifter, and as the bolt starts to move forward, a cam lifts the lifter up, the bolt shuts on the round, and you're ready to go again. It's called a long strike recoil system, and it functions perfectly.
It means you don't have to have like a gas offset.
Yeah, no gas system to foul up, no adjustment to be made except on the recoil spring underneath in the forend. And it's a simple adjustment. You just undo a nut, pull a split washer off and turn it over, and away you go with a heavier load. Yeah. You've got it locked back.
It's locked?
Yeah.
So that's recoils all the way backwards?
Yeah.
Just 4 inch. And the barrel comes forward, and then if there's a round to come forward, it'll feed it back in.
Yeah. Simple. Yeah, this is an early gun. Typical Browning, as the manufacturing occurred over a number of years, he found little like refinements that he made to his gun. And this one probably could do with a bit of oil on it.
Oh, you reckon?
Yeah. One of the
Pachoo.
yeah, they're good to shoot.
They're quite iconic to shoot.
When I was 16, the farmer that my dad was working for owned one of these, and later on I looked it up, and it was that one that he had was made in 1913, and this was in the 1960s when I was about 16, and he would give. There was 3 brothers, me and my 2 brothers, and the chap that owned the farm, he would give us this A5 and an old single barrel that he had, and we'd scrounge the double barrel from somewhere that had split barrels, and we'd cut the barrels off so we could use it. And he'd say to us, here's a couple of boxes of ammo, go down to that dam and clean up those wood ducks, they're fouling up the dam. So we'd tear off there, and in the meantime trying to get to the dam without braining one another to find out who would use the A5 and who would end up with a single shot. And we'd go and shoot 15 or 20 ducks, and they'd move off to someone else's dam, and everyone would be happy for a couple of 3 weeks until the bloody things came back. But anyway, it was, and for a 16-year-old, it wasn't a bad gun to shoot. You know, I could handle it, and my brothers were younger than me, even they would.
Well, I'd probably shoot that easier than a single barrel.
Yes, that's right. The single barrel was a very light little gun.
And the act of the barrel getting recoil back into the gun and everything,
it soaks up.
Soaks up.
Yeah, some of the recoil leaves it, yeah. So it's an interesting gun. And one of the things I was saying about the refinements that Browning made is this is the safety catch in the front of the trigger guard, and his idea was you could push it off with your finger, but the later variation had a safety catch behind the trigger here, push through. So this indicates this is an early one. It's a 5-digit number, so I haven't looked it up, but it's probably prior to 1920, I would say.
And you say the best till last.
What do I say? Oh yes, the best till last. This is a
Piece of ingenuity, this is.
This is a real piece of ingenuity. And notice the pistol grip, you know.
It's like the original Rascal.
Yeah. This is what Winchester called an O2, but it's another Browning design. In like around about 1900, Winchester was selling single shot 22s and little pump action 22s and so on. But they realised that the Europeans, those mongrels in Europe, were sending cheap 22 rifles to America and selling them, undercutting Winchester. So they went to Browning and said, probably said to him words like, can you design us a cheap, nasty little gun?
Fuck me, anyone could have designed that. You would have to go to Browning.
I know you wouldn't, but anyway, that's what Winchester did. They wanted a cheap gun to sell to the mass market, you know, because over there, department stores and bloody grocery stores and everyone sold firearms and ammunition. So Winchester wanted something cheap, and this is an O2 that shoots 22 shorts, longs or extra longs. Those extra longs were super powerful 22 as well. Anyway, this is actually the refined version. The first version they made was virtually the same mechanics at the top. Didn't have this lovely little looped pistol grip, and the stock was a piece of board, and they cut it out with a bandsaw, and a guy rasped a barrel channel in it and drilled a couple of holes. Never went near a machine to make, other than the metalwork, of course. And the metalwork is just a barrel and action in one piece, and nothing to screw together or anything like that. So, I should have made this the question for the night. Could anyone guess how much that retailed for in 1902?
Do they use dollars back then, or
Well, in US dollars.
in US dollars?
There wouldn't have been many.
What if we make another hat to see who can get closest to that at the end of the...
Yeah, well, I'm quite happy to throw a loophole hat in there.
Yeah.
If anybody can guess what that sold for in US dollars in 1903,
Yeah.
02.
0203, yeah. They then made a deluxe version of that sold for
Did it have
nearly
a-
twice as much.
did it have a tactical bolt knob on it, or did it just use the same little one that
No,
one
it was
has?
exactly.
That is the tactical bolt knob, mate. That's 1902 tactical bolt knob.
Have a look how big it is. It's for people with big hands.
And not very long. Well, you didn't need much leverage. But the funny part about this is that this action and the way this is made was pirated by Lithgow.
Oh, fuck me. It wasn't pirated. It wouldn't have been pirated. Just two people thought up the same basic bloody design.
So that's similar, the parts interchange.
Well, we got a whole heap of answers coming through.
Oh,
So
good.
we got Corey's reckons $1.05.
No, it's a bit
Wade
cheap.
reckons $2.50. Gary's saying $1.50. Bruce is saying $3.57. Nathan's saying $1.50. Tristan's $2. Ajax is 50 cents.
It's got to be the price is right rules, yeah? So it's got to be, you got to be as close to your number without going over.
Adam's saying $9, and Gary's changed his original bid to $1.25.
$1.25. That was probably a week's wages back then. Probably more, probably 2 weeks'
Might have
wages.
been. Well,
I'm going to say 39 cents.
no, it's in the dollars and something.
Yeah. Do you actually know, or is this like...
Yeah, I do.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know the deluxe version, I don't know what the deluxe version was. I think it had a steel butt plate and...
Macropod reckons $69.
No, I don't think.
$5, $7.50.
$8. I don't have a stab at.
The first rifle design that Winchester bought off Browning was a single shot rifle, a falling block single shot rifle. And when Winchester made that and sold it in 1879, 1880, it was $57. And a man's wages in the US at that time was $104 a year. So it was an expensive rifle, the single shot.
Yeah, so nowadays that'd be working on the average wage of the average person, that'd be a $30,000 gun.
That's right, yeah.
Brendan's throwing out $1.75.
No, a bit higher than that.
Bit higher than that.
Yeah.
Higher, guys. Guess higher. Come on.
Yes, higher.
Right, so what else you got to talk about,
No,
Browning?
that's it. I think
All right, well, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring
Yeah.
and talk about Browning.
Oh, good.
John Moses Browning was a great designer. He designed some innovative stuff for the time, and it was way overcomplicated. It was so fucking complicated. Most of Browning designs are proof that a gunsmith was probably knobbing his missus, and the guns that he designed are his way of getting back at the firearms industry. So I'm going to screw those gunsmiths for the next 100 years. You're going to have to fix these overly complicated. Like, he had some really complicated ideas, didn't he?
He did.
And you had like a button or a screw or something, one thing, you take that out and the whole gun comes apart. You know, it's like slots and things, like a Chinese bloody finger trap. Like, fucking, you take that out and then you move that and then that drops out and then you push that sideways and then you put a pin through a hole and push something out and it fucking falls to bits. Like, there was some really smart stuff in there, but I think he was maliciously thinking about how to screw over the firearms gun repairers. I think he had it out for gun repairers.
Well, even
I've got a feeling, watching some of Zaine's work that he does out the back with muzzle brakes and shit like that, that they'll probably cut from the same cloth, these two.
No, I make stuff complicated for me. He made it complicated for everyone else. He didn't have to screw around with it.
All right, we've got a couple more throwouts here. So we've got $2.05.
I keep going up, boys. It's a little bit dearer than that.
$4.20.
Oh, that's close.
$4.20. That's close.
Yeah, that's very close.
All right.
Did he go over?
No, he didn't go over.
Hasn't got no, so
Hasn't got over,
420 is
alright.
as close we got without
Alright, so
going over.
420. So keep going, fellas.
Someone's going to get it.
Scoop says $12.50.
Oh, God. It's good.
No, not everybody was rich.
Scoops would do, yeah. Scoops would have been a millionaire back in the bloody.
Got 550 and 5, 475, 455.
Alright, it's over. So whoever guessed 420 wins.
No. 455 is the closest.
Oh, okay. Is it over though?
That's just over.
Yeah. Well, that's the rules are you have to guess as close as you can without going over.
Oh, well, all right.
So the person who guessed 420 wins.
Who was that?
That's what I said. Price is right rules. Whoever guessed 420 won.
420.
Yeah.
420 goes to Simon. Simon from fucking free range.
Simon from Free Range.
You
It's a
bastard.
blue old hat.
You bastard. You get a hat that you can probably get yourself.
Yeah, that's it.
You dickhead.
Alright, so we'll
Yeah,
give it
$4.50.
You know what? I'm not going to give it to Simon.
give it to someone else.
I'll give it to a proper client. Alright, who have we got in here?
Poor old Simon. Now he's bloody probably crying because he bloody knocked him back.
Yeah, he wants his loophole hat.
Alright, Brendan Dean's made it 440 is what it
Yeah,
looks
that's-
like.
yeah,
Brendan
they're-
Dean's.
Yeah, they were sold for $4.50, and then about 3 years later they modified the stock and made it much nicer, and they sold them for
No, Gary, you didn't get it. Sorry.
$6.50.
Oh, right. What was the wage back in pre-1900?
would have been about maybe $8 to $10 a week, perhaps.
Well,
So
I
half a
thought it
week's
was around
wage.
that much, but.
Simon reckons, lol, don't give it to me. That's pants on hedge retarded. Yeah, I wasn't giving it to you
Yeah,
anyway,
so,
Simon.
I mean, I don't know, if they were earning $8 a week and it was half a week's wages, that's like $500.
Yeah.
You know, if you're earning $1,000 a week nowadays.
Oh, Gary, you don't need a new cat, mate. You're not close enough to the sun.
Go.
Yeah, it's,
So, relatively speaking, like a Savage or something like that you buy for $500 or $600 is a much better gun than that piece of
yeah,
shit.
that's right.
So you're actually getting more for your money.
Yeah.
Makes anyway, get all the shit off my head. Fucking Browning.
Fuck you, Brownie.
He
Stack it.
was,
Just gonna stack it from there.
in my opinion, Browning was was the premier designer we've had. The gun industry has had.
Sure, yeah. I'm not going to disagree with you. But I think there's. Yeah. He's certainly not undeserving of the accolades that he gets.
No. But there is, as you say, a lot of his designs were overly
Complicated.
Yeah. A good example of it is the two good examples are the P35 9mm, the Browning high power, which is known as the Browning high power. After designing the 1911, having a trigger system on the 1911 that worked beautifully and was simple, rugged, he built the high power with a strange system that has a transfer bar in the bottom of the bloody slide, so that when the slide is fully closed, it's the only time the trigger can actually function the firing pin. But it's overly complicated. There would have been plenty of other ideas that he could have used there. Well, I will admit that Browning was the instigator of the design, and he died before it was finalised, and someone else finished the design off and got it made. But the other example is the 1897 pump action shotgun. It is a gunsmith's nightmare. Absolutely. But beautiful design in itself.
I'll just leave these two here. Thanks, Trent, for helping us with that one.
Oh, I don't want to get in the way.
You're always in the way, Paddy.
Yeah.
So something I just finished today, something I've been working on for about 10 years. Originally it was in 6.5 by 68, which is an old German cartridge, but this is my 26 Nosler. So it's a Weatherby Mark V. I've had it for a long time. This wasn't the first Mark V I bought. The first Mark 5 I ever owned, I sold, but this is not much later. I bought another one and then dicked around with it and whatnot. And it's a bit of a bitzer, yeah. So I got that stock from one place and the actions from somewhere else, and I got this trigger from somewhere and I don't remember where, but it's a single set trigger, which is pretty cool. So that's a 6.5 chrome moly barrel that I had lying around. That was for the original build, so it's been cut down a little bit, so it's only 24 inches long. But I decided to do a blended in muzzle brake, and I put a stainless steel insert in between the brake and the barrel, just to sort of give it something a little bit extra, something a little bit different. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Looks very nice.
You could even, since then I've thought about it, you could actually, that ring could be made out of titanium or something like that, and then we could colour it, and so there's a lot of options, yeah, like gold or even just multi, you know, like a colour case hardened sort of colour.
Yeah, or go gold so it matches the scope.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, gold ring. Yeah.
Send it to Cubus when it fucks up.
And yeah, this is a 6.5 to 20 VX3, one of the last ones in gloss finish that they'll make, LR. So I've got to load some ammo for it now, but we'll see how it goes from there. Oh, and this is a Mark 5 Deluxe stock.
Did you say what colour this one was?
26 Nosler. 26. I did say, yeah.
You did?
So this stock I've cut back and recut the checkering. It's the first checkering job I've ever done. So I started on this panel, and then I went to this panel, and this panel, and you'll see if you have a look at it, my quality of my work from there to there is vastly better. So,
well, it's not the easy job that, you know, some people think it is.
Oh, it's fucking hard work.
You know.
But I stained down the stock with alkanet root, so to get more red into it, because it was a little bit blonde. But in the process, I've stained my white line spaces, which is okay. So you can still see the white grip cap with the rosewood in a gloss finish. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with this one. Now I've actually got something I can take out and shoot, but I really like these Mark 5 actions. Nice big strong action.
They're brilliant.
So that's my latest gun that I finished for myself. I'll take it out and shoot it and we'll see how we go. So 26 Nosler. It's a really good calibre. It's not on the VPF list because it drops the power off because it's it doesn't have as much energy as a thrown-in mag. But to give you an idea, at 1,000 metres, this gun actually has 100 inches less drop than a 338 Lapua. That's how flat this gun shoots. Like, it's very, very potent cartridge. Yeah, so should be good for life.
Be good for life for sure.
We should do next week's Friday Night Live, because we'll be at Billy Farm shooting shooting your new guns.
Yeah, I'll get the ammo loaded. No promises.
We will be out on the farm next weekend.
We will be.
So
next Friday Night Live will be done from the farm.
So give us a big thumbs up in here if you want to if you actually want to see us live from Billy Farm next week. So
too bad, you're going to get it anyway. But hopefully it's not pissing with rain.
It's apparently going to be pissing with rain both days.
Cool.
So that'll be excellent.
Thanks everyone who's logged in watching us tonight. I hope you liked Friday Night Live, Old Crap Bill. Hi to everyone who's logged in and said hi. We haven't named anyone specifically.
No, there's lots.
There's
lots
a lot
of
of people and
all
lots
of our
of thumbs up.
Definitely all of our regulars are on.
Yeah.
So
Did you want to give us a closer look at that Punchy? Well,
No.
no. Okay then.
I don't really know. This was another one that Zaine finished this week though. Like you know,
last week.
well,
I thought it was this. No, it might have been last week.
last week then.
Anyway, so this is his bonus from last year. It's a 7mm Punchy, which is 300 PRC nicked down to 7mm. And again, it's not a VPF calibre.
No.
But it is quite pokey. He shoots a 197 grain pill. We're not sure how fast yet because we're still doing data on it. But yeah, so this is a Weatherby Vanguard long action. It's got a TSE 1 in 7 twist barrel in it, so really fast twist. It's got a custom muzzle brake on the front of it, tunable
A
muzzle
lot of our
brake.
tunable muzzle brakes.
So that's the cartridge.
That's the cartridge there.
Yep.
It's in the MDT ESS chassis.
With the vertical pistol grip.
Yep, vertical pistol grip in the Magpul Grey or whatever they call it. Something that's a little bit different. It is running the MDT. Currently, it's running the MDT Elite rings. Now, I don't know if you'll be able to see it from there. Dave, but it actually has an inbuilt bubble level at the
Yeah,
back.
it's a bit hard to see. You can see it in the pictures I took on Wednesday.
Yeah, 6 screws, works really well. Does have the Steiner T5XI 525 on top there, which I've borrowed from Bill. Just going to be a good all-round rig, I think.
Great
Yeah.
for rabbits and foxes and
Yeah, we'll
Probably a
definitely
bit longer to try and get out the window. So.
yeah.
we'll definitely put up some details next week.
We've already loaded some ammo for it.
And by we, Zaine did it. Lucky enough where he needed to. So, yeah.
But we still got to load some 6mm Punchy.
We still got to load some 6mm.
And I want to load some. I want to see if we get around to loading some 7x64 for my.
Did you do something like that last time?
I think I've got like 2 rounds of it,
Two,
so I
yeah.
get the bullet setting back the same.
Yeah.
But I can't remember what I loaded. I didn't write it down because I'm a dumb shit. But I actually need to make some better like range books. I started doing it like 5 years ago or something.
Yep.
A proper range book, better suited to how we do our load development and the way that we run our long range courses.
Absolutely.
So, because it's a lot's changed in the last 10 years or so, you know. I got a range book from Macmillan and it's good, but it's not great. Like, it's not the best suited to how we do data nowadays. And there's a lot of obsolete shit in there, which admittedly, like some guys that shoot like, competition and they still, they call wind the way they call wind and all that sort of stuff. It's probably applicable to them, but it's not applicable to how we do things nowadays and the scopes and reticles that we use and the low data that we use.
And the ballistic apps.
And the way that we develop our data and nowadays with tunable muzzle brakes and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So,
That's,
I don't know. If people want them, I'll make them. I might,
Yeah, well,
I think I'd probably, if I wanted it done properly, I'd probably have to get like 10. I'd have to do probably a minimum of 10. So
it's one of those things with some of the books that are out, the shooting logs that are out currently. I think there's a lot of them that were based in the old days, where people would write down a bunch of useless information. It's not useless in the fact that when they did it, it was, but how did you get back to it quickly? Like, you might have taken 10 shots on this particular day in these particular conditions with this particular blah, blah, blah. But then how would you go back and find that if you come across those conditions again? And this is where
I know what you're saying,
this is where our load data and everything on our phones are starting to become
more applicable,
and I have spoken to a few people lately about it that have sit there and said, I've done so much shooting over the last sort of year, and I've written down everything that I've done, and it's like, well, how do you access that quickly?
Yeah, how is that information going to help you?
Yeah, if you get out to the range and all of a sudden you're looking at the wind flags and you go, oh yeah, cool, it's blowing at such a speed, at such a distance, or, it's on, at such a angle, blah, blah, blah. How do you go back through your book quickly to find what you want to do so you're not sitting at the range taking fucking 4 hours reading through the last 600 shots that you had.
Yeah.
Trying to figure it out.
And how do you apply your results to your load data easily? Like, how do you match those up?
Yeah.
So that next time you go out and go, all right, I used this load last time, with this powder charge, with this seating depth, with this position on my tunable muzzle brake, and I was shooting in these conditions at this target, and this is what I shot.
Yeah.
How do you link all that up together?
Yeah.
And have it applicable and easily accessible without going on for fucking ages and all sorts of shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's something, that's just a side note that I thought I'd better get into that.
Being that you've been doing this for a long time.
Oh, be careful.
Okay. You've been doing it for a while. Okay. Not as long as Bill, but I mean, Bill was. Did you ever shoot long range, Bill?
Yeah, Bill's done like 4 303s and all that.
Without the jackets?
Well, which jackets are you talking about?
No.
When Bill started shooting, they were still wearing the old fucking jackets with the crosses on them and
Oh,
stuff, with the bloody Civil War type.
Yeah, the Merkins.
Yeah.
But anyway, before we digress into picking on Bill, so before the ballistic caps that you get on your
Oh,
phone,
you got to put your cap on there?
Yeah, you forgot to put a cap on there.
before the ballistic apps that are on your phones now, what were you guys using back then?
Oh, we were using, and this is only going back like 2011, 2012.
So say
10 years ago.
8 to 10 years?
We're using field firing solutions. So it was a program developed by the guys in the US.
Yep.
And it was on a little like USB,
Mhm.
and you put it into. We used it in a PDA.
Yep.
It's like a handheld PDA thing, like what they use at, like what they used to use at restaurants.
So take your order.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Nowadays, just use their phones, you know, and shit like that.
Yep.
But that's what it was. And the data that it gave out was good, but it wasn't as good, anywhere near as good as what applied ballistics and that sort of stuff developing now.
So are they vastly ahead of where they were back there, or?
I wouldn't say vastly ahead. Like we had an idea back then
Yep.
of what to do, but we couldn't use G7 ballistic coefficients, for
Yeah,
example.
okay, so it was all G1.
Yeah, it was all G1, and there's issues with that. But it's not just the data; it was also the chronographs that we were using back then weren't as good as what they are nowadays.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so you know, the weather meters and shit that we had access to
Yeah.
back then weren't as accessible as what they are nowadays,
Yeah, okay.
and that sort of stuff. So I mean, it's not just the app; it's everything's coming along with it.
Yeah.
So we can develop a lot better data nowadays.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but we need to be able to capture that data.
And the data becomes more applicable and more accurate.
Mm.
Much more accurate.
Much more accurate. You can be much more confident in the data that you generate.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I mean, the proof's in the pudding when we do, you know, out at the farm when we're doing our courses. How many times have we had guys that we've done all the calibration, we've done everything that we had to on the first day, gone out the second day, and
And they're on.
they're on.
Yeah.
You know, like they might take 1 or 2 shots, but they're on.
Well,
You know?
and that's the thing is on the second day is we haven't done anything on wind yet. You know, we developed all the data, but the second day is all about wind. Anyone who does, you know, that sort of long range shooting and stuff knows that the biggest variable that changes and it's very hard to account for is wind, because it's not a number that you can just put into a calculation. It's something you've got to judge on the fly, because it's not. You can judge even if you've got a wind meter. It'll only tell you what the wind's doing here, what the atmosphere's doing here. It won't tell you what's happening down range.
And we had a good example of that not so long ago, where the wind was actually blowing in the complete different direction at the 1,000 metre mark.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
And it happens. The first time I ever did a long range training course with Glenn, again, you know, more than 10 years ago, we had exactly that. I always remember back to that day. But it's all about, you know, it's a lot of training to learn how to read wind correctly. Something you're always learning about. But I mean, at the start of the first day, what I'm looking for is your elevation. If your elevation's good, then I know the ballistic data is good.
yeah.
Yeah, and then it's only the guys, whoever can calculate the error for wind.
Yeah. But also marksmanship skills. You know, if you're
Yeah.
snatching the trigger and shit like that.
Yeah, well, that's it. You can put all the data into your ballistic app that you've got. If you shoot like shit,
You're going up and down the target.
you know,
and
if
something's
you
going
can't shoot, it doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah.
You can have it all dialed in. You're not going to hit the target.
No. And so there is a lot of merit in muzzle brakes.
Sure.
You know, for long range shooting, because it cuts down a lot of that human error.
I think for most shooting now, you know,
Yeah.
hunting applications, especially our long range stuff.
Yeah.
You know, a muzzle brake is there to
It's another aid.
aid. Yeah,
I mean, people
to
talk that they make, you know, it's noisy. I mean, just buy a decent set of EMFs, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
There's some percussive force for people around you, and it makes them a bit louder, but it's a very small price to pay.
If your mates can't handle it, get better mates.
Yeah. It's fine. Yeah. So what did you want to talk about tonight? Now that we've just talked shit for a little bit, you want to talk about Remington?
Well, I was going to have a quick chat about Remington. I wanted to do a little bit more on it. However, we put it in the capable hands of Ross during the week, and he's actually left me a little bit high and dry with pricing and stuff like that. But, you know, we're running through. They do have a lot of products that are coming across to NIOA.
I wanted to know what the different lines were as well.
Yeah, well, I just did a quick look before. And
So we got an announcement earlier in the week from NIOA that Remington ammo had been announced, and the products are all available for us now to order, so we can actually place orders for Remington ammo.
they're not available as yet.
No, we're
But
told
we can
mid-year they'll get available.
Yep. But they had 7 pages come over, so quite a few lines. And when I was going through it, they have most calibers. They have a whole range of gun oil and all that sort of stuff coming over as well.
Yeah, Rem oil is really popular apparently. Like, there's a lot of people, oh, we've got to have Rem oil. But they're old, probably more of the older generations.
The 1,400 round bucket of bullets in the 22 LRs is coming over.
Yeah, I've stocked them on 2 occasions previously and had fucking nothing but issues.
Well, what I'm actually
Well,
wondering
we're talking a misfire at 1 in every 10.
What I'm wondering
Yeah,
is
so every magazine, at least 1 round's not going off. In that
they're
mag.
they're not using the Remington manufacturing equipment though. Or who's making them?
I've heard this before. I don't know who's making them.
So if they're going to go over, I mean, the only thing we can do is give them a try. If they don't work the way that they are supposed to, the cool thing is that NIOA is one of those companies that will back the products that they sell.
Yeah, they will. To
So,
be honest, yeah.
It's
just fucking annoying.
It is annoying, but it's one of
And
those
it's
things.
not good with the clients as well. And yeah, I get it. And clients realise that we don't make the shit. But at the end of the day, they still bring it back to us, and they're not happy about it. And I can sort of
we
I know what they're
sympathise.
saying, yeah.
Sympathise with it definitely.
So what we need to do is get a bucket of bullets across.
Yeah, that we will
and,
try.
Yeah, we'll turn a 1022 full auto or something like that. And just have bloody Ross there, fucking
Just feed
loading mags like crazy, and just feed them to us. So we can just whack them in and
Well, if we're going to make it full auto, we might as well go the full hog and put it like a 25 round or a 50 round.
Oh, come on, belt fed.
No, because if it's got a 10-shot mag, it's just a malfunctioning Cat C.
Oh, I might have just
It's just we've got a light trigger on. But it's got a bigger than 10-shot magazine. Oh no, then it's Cat D.
G'day everybody there watching us from
Hey, Waypole.
How are you? See you tomorrow, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. I'm not working. Fuck yeah.
I'll just be out the back. I don't know. You might have it
I
out
don't
here
know
somewhere.
what you're talking about. This is all parody. Yeah? It's all just taking a piss. It's
definitely
just comedy. You shouldn't be taking anything.
Definitely not going to happen.
Yeah. Well, they're probably going to knock on my door later in the week because I had to review some evidence on some guys manufacturing machine guns. Yeah. And I actually had to find a book online, so I had to go and look online for this book.
So your FBI agent that's watching you is
So there'll be a red flag. Zane's looking at blueprints to manufacture submachine guns.
He's normally looking at OnlyFans.
Yeah, that's it. This makes a good change from furry porn. Anyway,
get back to a little bit on the Remington ammo.
Yeah.
They've got a wide range of bullet selection. So, you've got your core locks, you've got your...
So the core lock's their standard soft point, but the core lock has an actual lock on the inside of the jacket that holds the core to the jacket.
We've got some core lock there.
So they don't separate.
They've got the Swift Scirocco.
Oh yeah? Because that's owned by... Oh, well, it's owned by it's owned by ATK or Vista or whatever.
Vista. So they've got those in there. I've got a whole heap of them.
Swiss Scirocco is the one that's like the Aki one.
Yeah. They got some with Barnes, so 6.5 Creedmoor's got Barnes projectiles in it.
Yeah, didn't Remington buy Barnes?
I'm not
And
sure.
so it's been acquired under that. Barnes are the solid copper ones, the triple shocks that break up into 3. Like they have 3 pedals that open up, and every gelatin block that they've ever shot with them, it just punches a hole straight through it and out the other side.
Beautiful.
Bloop out the other end. They embedded a cow femur in one, and it smashed through the cow femur. Bloop out the other end.
Match King, which was...
Sierra Match King.
Yeah, Match Kings. And I don't know who makes them, but they're calling them the high performance rounds.
Oh, they sound like they're high performance.
Yeah. So I kind of put that down to the Hornady Super Performance. It must be pretty similar, just different body.
Didn't we have someone bring Super Performance ammo on one of the last courses? Last course? Course before that.
Yeah, one of the course before.
Because I remember I should have recorded his data, because I know his data was actually like, when I looked at it, I was like,
With the 22 to 50?
I don't know what calibre it was.
Yeah.
I didn't think so. I thought it was like 6.5 or something.
Oh, okay. Good read. But anyway, it looks like most of plus all their handgun, pistol ammo as well. So they've got a whole heap of that, ranging right up into 45 long Colt and all that stuff.
Cool.
Most things look like they're going to be pretty much on par with federal ammo price wise. Yeah.
Okay.
From what I can see. But I haven't had a good chance to sit down and go through all 7 pages and actually price each individual packet up.
Well, there's a good chance. Like, we've just hit March, and NIOA put out their new price lists and all their marketing shit and everything usually in March. So by the time the product gets here in mid-year, the price might have changed.
Yeah. Shotgun ammo's in there as well. However, that does look like it's more expensive than most of the stuff we already run.
Okay.
But it's all stuff that I don't really know a lot about. It's called, you got your Pheasant Hunter and a couple other ones that I was just like, I've never heard of them, but that doesn't mean they haven't been
Pheasant are a
around.
bit short on the ground in Australia.
Yeah, so I'm not really sure whether they're just a lead or whether they've got the fancy fucking ribbed balls in there that fly better for your pleasure. So I'm not really
Ones
sure.
that are all joined together.
That's the one. You pull about the sound like you're starting a lawnmower.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's something that's a bit new in the industry, but not really. But new from a different person.
Yeah, well, it's getting done by a different company, and they might change quite a bit of their manufacturing and stuff like that.
It's a water cup, guys. There's no beer in it. Just want to point that out for the fellas that dogged us in last year. Still salty about that.
Oh yeah.
Well, I quite liked having a beer while we're doing this.
Someone else is like. I mean, we got targeted for it. Someone had a sook.
Just a touch.
Someone had a sook about us, but because I'm on Facebook again now, and I see that stuff all the time, and it's not in a negative aspect either. Like it's a like someone's showing off their gun and there happens to be a beer in the background. It's not like they're fucking full of piss, hanging off one-handed off the side of the ute trying to shoot stuff.
Shooting fire extinguishers in the bush.
Yeah, like anyway. But as far as a cultural thing goes, it's certainly not a negative aspect.
No, I didn't think it was.
And I think that's important. I think it really is important for the image of the sport that everything we do have to worry about what we do to an extent, and everything that we do needs to be make sure that we're seen in a positive light for the rest of society.
Absolutely. I mean, we've already, like you said, we're already a targeted sport.
Yeah.
So doing the right thing is what we need to do.
Those match kings
They're a bit wobbly, aren't they?
Yeah, but that's because we haven't fired for them yet. And also I load them, I don't really care because they're not mine.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I'll sort themselves out.
Cool.
Go out into the muzzle's the same.
Yeah, that's it. They'll straighten up.
Yeah.
They'll straighten up.
No. It's raw brass that we've turned and whatnot. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
Yeah. It's just we'll have to form the cases. Because you can see the cases, after we've annealed them and everything, they're a bit...
Yeah.
You just have to shoot them off. Anyway.
We did have an awesome fucking... The first round we put through this one, we were doing some load data. It was
Big
pretty
flame.
good. Yeah. It was also a little bit hard to open the bolt
Just need bigger muscles, mate.
when the primer wasn't in it anymore. At 300 PRC. And Hornady was engraved into my bolt face.
And the ejector wouldn't come out of the bolt.
Because it was full of brass.
Like, fuck that. I'm not coming out.
And it's a pretty long barrel.
All I did was poke it though and it popped out. It's fine.
It's a pretty long barrel, and there was a flame about that long.
It's fine.
It was excellent. I liked it a lot.
A little bit.
Gun should flame. That's what they should do.
So we've got 2 loads to try. We've got 71 grains of 225 behind the 197, and we've got 76 grains of 2218. Fills the case up a bit more. So it'll be interesting to test those 2 and see which one's got a more consistent velocity, because velocity consistency is very important in long run shooting. Brings your elevation right down, your group elevation. Because obviously, the further out you shoot, the more exacerbated the difference becomes. Fast bullets shoot high, slow bullets shoot low. So
if we can keep it all around.
Keep it consistent, and we know that filling the case up more, having a smaller air gap, will increase The consistency.
That standard
But we'll
deviation is
see.
good. Well, that'll be good.
So,
That's what we're chasing.
Yeah.
A low SD.
yeah.
All right. Now, moving on. You wanted to talk about a
yeah,
particular
okay.
issue that came
Yeah,
up. If you guys have been, if you follow either of us on Facebook, we've actually been a little bit more present, I suppose.
I don't follow you on Facebook.
No, I don't follow you either. But I see your comments.
I don't want to listen about cars and rugby.
all the cool things.
Bundaberg, fucking
All the cool
rugby.
things that I do. Like
Fords.
Fords. Yeah, I talk about
Fords,
Fords.
golf, and Bundaberg run.
What's wrong with golf?
And rugby.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
and fucking rugby and gridiron.
yeah. But I like those sports.
Yeah, but I don't, and so
No, well, that's fine.
that's the extent of
But you'll notice that we have been a lot more proactive on Facebook in the WA Shooters or whatever it is page and the.
I get invited to so many pages. I join.
I don't
a bit,
believe you.
but,
I don't believe that you get invited anywhere.
no.
I mean, I believe you've got kicked out of a few pages, but
probably been kicked out.
Yeah,
But we've
I-
been a little bit more.
Yeah.
And there was a particular question asked the other day.
Yeah, so it was a copy of a text message between two people. And one person was asking if they're going to get their firearms licence and that they were worried about their application because they have been diagnosed with depression and they're getting treated for it. Now the person said it's no problem. So there is a question under your, when you do a firearms application, there's a question in there that says, are you currently taking any drugs or medicine that could affect your fitness to hold a firearms licence, or words to those effects? Yeah.
Prescribed medication or other drugs that could affect your fitness or firearms license.
And so what's a prescribed medication that could affect your fitness to hold a firearms licence? I mean, it's a very
It's a typical,
obscure sort of question, yeah.
Absolutely.
it's a typical broad bloody question that the police love to use because they can use it to cover a plethora of bloody things.
Yeah.
But also think about the premise. The premise is that you have an illness of some sort and you're on medicine to fix that illness. No one's on medicine to exacerbate an illness. So if you're on a medicine to fix an illness, why would that be a reason for you not to be a normal person anymore? You know what I'm saying? Like medicines you are prescribed medication to make you normal. You might be in excessive pain, so you put on pain medication. You might be depressed, so you put on depression medication. You might have cancer, so you put on, some sort of you might have autoimmune problems, and so you put on an autoimmunity suppressant to make you normal. Like I don't know what medicine could you take that would then affect your fitness to hold a firearms license.
Yeah.
Anyway, getting back to the original point was, I want to know what other people think before I throw out my opinion on the matter in regards to depression. So if someone has depression, anxiety, depression, and they're on antidepressants as a result of it, should that affect their fitness to hold a firearms license? So what do you guys think about that?
I mean, definitely there is some medical instances where some of these diagnoses or what you have will affect your fitness to hold a firearms license.
Right, well, give me an example.
Well, say the likes of schizophrenia or something along those lines. If you then go off your medication,
if you go off the medication, not on the medication,
which is where I was going to get with. There is two questions in there though. There is the question that asks about the medication, and then the question underneath that says, have you been diagnosed with any medical, mental, or
physical,
mental condition that can affect your fitness to hold a firearms license? So the actual, prescription medication that you're on really means nothing. That question, you could just answer that no. But if you have been diagnosed...
Well, you can answer both of them, no.
Yeah, but if you have been diagnosed with
a medical condition.
Yeah, that you have to put down, because if you do go off the medication, you could become a danger to yourself or other people.
You should put down. You don't have to put down. Because if you don't put it down, your doctor's not going to rat on you, I wouldn't imagine.
No, the doctor isn't allowed to unless they feel there is a danger to themselves or the public.
Well, I was going to throw it out. I don't know, can the police actually request your medical?
I don't think they can, no. I think that's...
I think that is...
I think the presumption's on the doctor.
Yeah, And would it be something that they would have to then? I mean, they'd have to do a lot more background checks into you.
I think within the medical association, I think if you relinquish up personal data of one of your clients, it's a big no-no.
No, they're required by law now that if they become aware that a person who owns firearms is depressed or has a condition that may be dangerous to them or the public, they're obliged to inform the police.
Yeah, to act on it.
Yeah, okay.
Because
So what is, this is the thing, so what is a...
I think that's more if the doctor feels that there are signs. Because my doctor's opinion, I have depression, I've taken antidepressants. My doctor has...
with that beard.
No, it's fucking beautiful. It probably prevents you. It doesn't have to take
It is a beautiful beard.
I trimmed it a bit last night, but if you are seeking help, you're less likely to commit any misdemeanors.
And that was one of the points that I was going to
and that goes for any treatable condition.
Yeah. I've been on antidepressants for 18 years.
Why are you such a miserable cunt?
You wouldn't know it until you look at me. But,
That's a key word in it. It's diagnosed.
But this is the thing. I would have really liked actually to get someone on here who's familiar with, psychiatric, like a professional, a doctor or something like that. We don't have access to that. And we're just spitballing at this stage. So don't take anything that we're saying tonight as like medical advice, or we're not talking with any sort of authority or anything at all. You know what I'm saying?
Please don't do this and then go, the boys from Beaton's told me I could.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Perhaps that could be an idea for a guest speaker one night.
yeah, absolutely.
So there you go, guys.
I'm not sure who we could talk to, and don't mention any names.
No, of course.
Yeah.
There are certain people that come to mind, but I don't think they're the sort of people that would be comfortable with that. So
I've got a couple straight off that would probably give us information, but
probably wouldn't go on.
Wouldn't go on camera to say it,
No.
and definitely wouldn't allow us to use their name to say they said it. But I think as two worded questions, the one that says, have you been diagnosed with any physical, mental, or mental condition is pretty standard. It's not implying anything. Have you or have you not? But the one that asks what medication you're on, well, if you answer it truthfully and it puts you in the shit a little bit and doesn't allow you, have they just fished for an answer? They've thrown a question out there that's pretty vague, and you've answered it truthfully.
Yeah, to the way you interpreted it too.
That's right. So, I've had plenty of, because as you know, we do the
applications,
and I've listed many different medications for many different
and so have I.
ailments,
and
it's never been a problem.
I think one interesting point though is the stigma that's associated, people making judgments on that. I've actually been declined travel insurance because of my depression.
But you were going base jumping.
No, I was going to Thailand, and they specifically said that you might go to a shooting range and commit suicide, which I was quite offended by.
Why would you do that in Thailand?
In Thailand, of all places.
Yeah, it's a long way to go.
Yeah. But
in fact, was that when you were still working in the gun shop or not?
Here?
Yeah.
No, this was fucking 10 years ago.
How many gun shops have you worked in?
No.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
No. I was going to say, this was about 10 years ago, maybe more.
So there was a client of ours that I won't get into the story too much. Their missus basically broke up with them, and he got a bit depressed, and he went to the doctors and was diagnosed, depressed because his missus left him, and the doctor, gave him medication, but also mentioned to him at the same time, look, I think it's a good idea that you relinquish your firearms license. And this gentleman said, well, I don't think it is a good idea for me to relinquish my firearms license because me going to the range on weekends makes me feel happy. It gets me out of the house. It gives me some recreation to do. It's a good thing. So
lets me concentrate my energies on something else.
Yeah.
I've got to say, through one particular hard time when I was a student, I used to go to Lone Ranges once a week. And I felt really, really bloody good after shooting a couple of boxes of 22s.
A lot of people didn't.
Yeah.
Lone Rangers is probably not a name I'd bring up.
Yeah, I would throw that out of this one, but
talk about shooting in Lone Rangers.
Stay in the fucking
Yeah,
room
that's
today.
right.
Sorry, Brad.
Yeah, no offence or anything. But yeah, I mean, it's a hard issue, but it is an issue that we as an industry do need to address, because the day is going to come when the question comes up, well, should people who are depressed have firearms? Because people who are depressed kill themselves.
And generally,
no, people who commit suicide are depressed, but that's not necessarily means that all depressed people want to kill themselves.
no, and generally, this question will come up as, because it always is, as a reaction.
Absolutely.
So somebody will do the wrong thing.
Someone will do something silly.
Yeah, and it will bring all of this into question.
Yeah, and then we'll have to have the conversation.
Yeah.
It
won't be addressed before that.
And it'll be too late then. So we should be having the conversation now, which is why I did want to bring this up and talk about it. So people want to hear my opinion?
Of course. Of course, people don't tune in to not hear your opinion.
So I'm not, like I said, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist, psychologist or anything like that. I do have a relatively strong interest in psychology and that sort of stuff. And I do subscribe to certain ideas, and I do listen to certain people. And one of them is Jordan Peterson, which a lot of people know, is a psychologist from Canada. And please try and separate some of his ideology from his lectures and that sort of stuff. Yeah, so you have to be careful like that. It's not all the same information. But anyway, one of the things that he talks about, which I really do subscribe to the idea, is that people need responsibility to make their life meaningful. Yeah, and it's the meaning in your life is where you really draw your meaning. So it's the responsibilities in your life you draw your meaning. So someone might be depressed but have no interest in killing themselves, no interest in. I have to be careful of that, because there's a difference. There's a difference between people who want to kill themselves and then actually have the ability to go through with it, so they have the right mindset and whatnot. For example, men have a mindset, and they're generally much more violent people, and they're much more likely to go through with committing suicide than what women are.
There's less of that call for help first.
Yeah.
You know, women tend to do it in a less violent manner, which means they get a longer opportunity for someone to actually find what they've done.
But there's also, there's the people that want to commit suicide, and then there's people that just don't want to exist anymore, and they're different people.
The person who wants to crawl up into a hole and disappear isn't necessarily this person.
Yeah. And then there's, and there's the medicated people, and then there's the non-medicated people. And so, and some people, really do follow the idea of medication. A lot of people sort of want to stay away from the medicated route. And then there's alternative methods, and there's an increasingly number of people who turn to recreational drugs like marijuana, for example, which has a documented positive effect. Now, it's an illicit drug, and I'm not saying that you should take it. What I'm saying is that there's a lot of different groups of people. But anyway, it is a.
You can get medicinal marijuana prescribed.
Yeah, you can get medicinal marijuana now.
I got glaucoma.
But yeah, so, but if we're looking at people that, obviously we all want to try and prevent people from committing suicide. It's a terrible thing. And it's happened to all of us. Not happened to all of us, but it's happened to someone that we know, or a loved one or a family member or something like that. And the way that it's addressed by a lot of psychologists, I'm not just talking to Jordan Peterson, I do listen to him, but there are other people that agree with it as well, is that it's about your responsibilities. So do you have someone, like one significant person in your life? Yeah, like, so it might be a wife or a girlfriend or a husband or boyfriend or something like that. It's someone that's there for you who can't leave, you know what I'm saying? Like, so a friend is someone that you don't necessarily talk to about everything, because they're not that sort of person that you talk to those things about, and they can leave whenever they want to. When you've got a wife or a boyfriend or something like that, someone that you've made a commitment to, it's someone that you can confide in, because you can tell them what you need to tell them and they can't leave, sort of. You know what I'm saying? Like you make a commitment to something
I get where you're going
in
with it,
goodness, you know, in health and in sickness and all that sort of stuff. So have you got that person, you know? Do you have a good group of friends, you know, people that you can talk to, but also people that you can enjoy recreational sport with, whether it's footy or shooting or whatever it is? Have you got a job? You know, it doesn't have to be a job that you enjoy, but it needs to be, you need to have something to do during the week. Yeah, so
it helps if you enjoy it.
Yeah,
Because if
it means that 5 days of the week, that you're 8 hours of the day, you're occupied doing something,
Committed to it,
yeah, and which prevents you from overthinking other things, and provides you the means to survive, then that's a really good thing. What are the other things that you said? Something meaningful to do outside of work, so recreational sport, for example, or it might be volunteer work for, for whatever, Red Cross or, you know, your local soup kitchen, or
could be anything, could be going
or
down
helping
your
out
local,
cooking a barbecue for.
go down to your local men's shed.
Yeah, exactly. You know.
Something that just provides you another mental out.
Yeah. Yeah, and the job also needs to be, sorry, going back a little bit, the job does need to be something that has prospects. You know, it doesn't have to be a career, but it has to lead somewhere. And there's one more, but I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. There's 5 things anyway. But if you've got all those things, you might still be depressed. Yeah, so I got depression when I was 18. I had just left school, so everything was getting turned upside down for me. I went from going from, 6 hours a day, my day was set. I go here, then there, and then I eat recess and there, and then I eat lunch, and then I go home, and then I, to going to uni, and then, it was the ending of one chapter and opening of another chapter of my life, and it was, an anxiety-filled thing. I had means of sustainment. I was still living with my parents. I had a girlfriend. I was, later in that year, I got a job. I was going to university. I had everything like sort of set in that sort of thing. So I had nothing to be depressed about. I still had anxiety and depression. So I wasn't the sort of person that you should worry about. And I got medication for it, and that, really helped. The problem I had was that my depression manifested itself physically. So I would vomit a lot. And so I went from 87 kilos on January 27th, I was 87 kilos. By March the 8th, I was 70 kilos. So I lost 17 kilos over a 5.5, 6 week period. Yeah.
So how do I get this?
You're gonna stick your fingers in. That's not. Yeah. So that's how it manifested for me, and it manifests itself very differently for different people. It was very overt for me, and so there was clearly something wrong, and so I was treated for it, and not had a problem since, so it's fine. If I'm on medication, and if I'm not on medication, it's not like I revert into some depressed state or anything like that. I'm a little bit moody, just a bit of a bitch sometimes, just sook sometimes. That's all it is.
No, never noticed.
more than I normally sook. So it's that's not the sort of person that people need to worry about. It's not depression in general that people need to worry about. They're not the sort of people that need to be targeted or as people that shouldn't have a firearms license, and it's certainly not people that are medicated who should be targeted. The people that should be looked at are people who maybe don't tick all those boxes. Maybe they don't have a meaningful career. Maybe they don't have a big group of friends, or feel that they don't have a big group of friends. They don't have a meaningful person in their life or family to support them. Yeah. And stuff to do after hours,
And if you guys know anyone like this, talk to them.
And this is the thing, and I think I will mention his name.
No.
No?
No.
Okay, I won't mention his name. There was a person that if you know him, you know him. If you don't, you don't. And perhaps he didn't tick a lot of those boxes. And the straw that broke the camel's back for him was his kids. And that that he ticked quite a few of those boxes. And then the last thing that he was hanging on to, perhaps he was hanging on to, was that. And he was trying to reach out to people and felt that he was alone. and then that was the straw that broke the camel's back. So that's the sort of stuff that needs to be looked at, not whether he's got a diagnosed illness, not whether he's medicated or not. Yeah. So I really think this is an issue that needs to be discussed in some detail before more people, and it needs to be discussed professionally as well. Like we're just spitballing here, like we're just talking about our experiences and what little knowledge we have. There's nothing about this is medical or anything like that. But I certainly think the industry needs to, and before this all goes to shit, it's something that probably needs to be addressed.
I think you find the industry, a lot of the people in the industry will be frightened of it, of addressing this.
Yeah.
I'd rather leave it as being the elephant in the room that no one wants to talk about.
Yeah, but that's the industry in general.
That I know.
And to be honest, that's society in general.
Yeah, it is society in general, but it's really endemic in the industry itself.
Because it's a hard discussion, you know,
It
and
is.
it's a hard thing for people to admit.
And what would be, I think you could guarantee that the attitude would be that we don't want the medical profession to become part of the licensing system.
Yeah.
Which is what would probably happen in the end.
But that's my point, is that it doesn't need to.
No, that's right.
You know,
No,
but it's because they're not. It's not synonymous. You know,
Yeah.
the issue of if you've got a medical diagnosis and you're medicated, and someone being clinically depressed to the point of self-harm and suicide, they're not correlated.
No,
That's that. I generally believe that there's a lot more to it than that. And so
I think that's what Bill's trying to say, though. If they do get involved, like anything, application-wise, there is always a line drawn in the sand.
Yeah.
They will pick an area and they will go, fucking, that's what it is. If you're on that side, you're fine. If you're on that side, you're not.
Yeah.
And
but it's stupid because I don't think that's going to. But that is the back to the original point. I don't think drawing a line in the sand is going to mitigate anyone's committing suicide.
and we agree with you, but that's where it'll be.
Yeah.
That's what they'll do.
But that's why we need to have the discussion.
That's
now.
right. But the thing I would advocate for though is that if we're going to do that, then we need to, ideally, we would need to have the police force, licensing involved, medical professions, and the industry, and probably the recreational shooters would need to be involved, and the industry itself, WAFTA. And the trouble is that the way licensing policy has been going in the last 10 years, licensing would see it as an opportunity to introduce more regulation,
more policy. But and Trent made a good point. It would all be reactionary.
That's right. It would be reactionary, and they would see.
It would be because it would be imposed upon them by their bosses.
Yeah.
What are you doing about
Yeah,
this?
that's right.
And it has to be clear cut.
Yeah,
it has to
that's
be
right.
this is what we've done.
Yeah, but they'll throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah,
I guarantee
right.
it. It's like they're not going to take the heat for anything.
Oh, I know.
So it needs to be, if it's to be addressed, it needs to be addressed by professionals early, without emotion involved.
That's right. But I would I just feel that we would end up with, unfortunately, more policy, more restrictions.
To no one's benefit.
To absolutely no one's benefit. Yeah, I agree entirely.
Oh, I think it'd benefit some people.
Well,
Not the people we're trying to benefit.
It wouldn't
No.
benefit anyone's health.
Mm.
For a start, that's right. But anyway, it's something that probably needs to be talked about a bit more, either, not only in the shooting organisations, but in the industry. And
Yeah, I really think, I don't think this is an issue you can take to the police at the moment.
No.
Or politicians. No one's going to want to talk about this.
No.
I think it's something within the industry needs to address.
Yeah.
And we need to talk to some professionals about it to see what the idea, what the thoughts are from that side of because they are, by regulation, required to inform the police of anyone they believe that's not suited to have a firearm. So they already have that authority.
Yeah. So what measures can we take
Yeah, we would like
to
to know.
mitigate
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one thing we would like to know is from them, where do they draw the line? Where do they think someone doesn't need to have shouldn't have a firearm license? What do they use as the guidelines or points?
And the person or the people that are making these decisions need to be people that understand the shooting community, rather than people that are coming from the other side of it that have got no interest in firearms and never have.
That's right.
Because they will always be the guys that go, oh, you've had depression, well then you're not the type of person we want with a gun.
Yeah.
Because you're going to do something wrong with it. Without really sitting down and thinking, that same person gets to drive to work every day. They get to go and take a train. They get to have baths. They get to play with their butter knives at home.
They get to make toast.
There's plenty of other opportunities.
You could even make toast in the bath. They'd be allowed to do that.
That's right. Like, they're allowed to go down to the hardware shop and buy lengths of rope. But
ladders.
And drive a bloody road train half a week,
I think another point is that they're trusted to purchase their medication and use it responsibly. That's how most people.
Those people are offered, and we do in general. Like we don't, as a society, we extend everyone a trust. You know, we consider every person within society has some. I don't want to get religious about it, but some element of divinity to them that can't be, the state can't take that from you. Even if you're in jail, you have, you can't bash someone that's in jail. You can't starve people in jail. You can't mistreat people in jail. So someone who's broken the law still has rights. And can't be treated a certain way. And so everyone's offered that sort of trust. To do the right thing with their medication, to do the right thing with their car and all that, except when you get his age and then they take your licence off you. But that's because you're old and fucked, not because you're depressed.
Because allegedly I just backed into a pole.
But so you're extended a huge amount of trust, and rightly so.
Society couldn't function without that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
and
Western society doesn't function like there's certain other elements. There's other societies that function without that because they're run by tyrants and dictators.
One of the guys that I was talking about is just texting me there that said statistically, more suicides are committed in cars and bridges than firearms. Which that's going to happen. Statistically, more people have got access to vehicles and bridges than they do firearms. But he also said that with this style of illness, domestic violence is actually more of an issue than suicide. So because they take it out on other people. We're getting a bit dark now, and we're also getting a bit late.
Yeah, it's getting dark outside.
Oh, as in it's getting dark outside.
It's getting a bit late. So I think
what's the time?
It's nearly 10 to 7.
What are we?
The night is young. It's Friday night.
Who'd we give?
We drop some pre-drinks and go.
Nick Holtz won a hat, and some other bloke.
Oh, you can go back through the comments later and work out.
I'll say that. Nick Holtz and Brendan Deans.
Beautiful.
So Nick Holtz, Brendan Deans, get in contact with us tomorrow. Nick, I know that you'll get in contact with us. Brendan, get in contact with us either through Facebook or give us a call at the shop, or you can pop in and we'll fling you a hat.
Yes.
Thanks to Bill. So apart from that, though, guys, this has been a excellent conversation. To be honest, something that needs to be had and needs to be had properly.
And regularly, I think.
It's an adult conversation as well.
It is. And a lot of people...
It's not what everyone wants to listen to on a Friday night.
Well, I'll tell you what,
different to you two, bloke. Normally not an adult's conversation.
No,
that's
not normally at all.
Normally talking about cocks and cunts.
Yeah, all sorts of shit. But thanks very much for tuning in. We guys hope you had a great week this week. Me and Roscoe are on tomorrow from 9 till 4. Zane's got the day off. I'd really appreciate it if none of you just came in because I need to load some ammo.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
No, I'm only joking. I'm not really, but nah.
Well, it depends what the missus is doing. I might be able to come down and give you a load of ammo.
True. But no, get in tomorrow. Remember, we've still got some specials running.
Though.
Okay. I'll hook up. Remember, we still got some shotguns on special. A couple of AK Churchills in 410 and some of the FDE and black Adler Tacticals.
We've got a bit of powder left.
No, we've got no powder left at all. The powder came in on Wednesday. It is now all gone.
I think there's a tin of BM2 in there.
So that's it. So that's all gone. That was 50 kilos gone in 2 days.
Yeah, it's all gone.
And
the 4 kilos even
I'm going to throw it out there just for you guys that are watching. If any of you want a Vernie Karen Speedline in 7mm Rem Mag, if you come and see me tomorrow and tomorrow only, I'll do a special price on it. He doesn't have to know
if you're
about it.
interested in powder, get your name down. Yeah, like everyone who had their name down were the first guys before we even put an advert out. Those got their powder set aside for them. So if you want powder, make sure you get in, get your name down, and we'll get it as soon as we
from
can.
Winchester?
We've got orders. We got orders coming out of our arse from Winchester.
Have I got an order?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got
Yeah, we've
heaps of
got
orders.
heaps of standing
Haven't
orders,
seen
and
them.
we always will.
Haven't seen them.
So we just see, with Winchester, we just see, we're not talking about anything else. We're only talking about Winchester. So we're getting powder from Winchester when we can get it.
Well, it's supposed to be delivered this week.
Right, sweet. So we've got another delivery coming in.
I've got $24,000 worth of powder ordered with Winchester, so at some point it will arrive in 50 kilo lots. But cool. Thanks very much for tuning in, guys. We really appreciate it. And we will see you during the week.
At the farm.
Yeah, next week we'll be on the farm.
next
So
week.
keep an eye out. If we are running late, we will be on. But
Well, we've said that in the
we
past.
might even start a bit early.
I
We
reckon.
might have to start a bit early.
Yeah. So keep an ear out. Keep
Might
an
be able to
eye
start
out.
at like 3 o'clock.
Most people at work.
Well, I reckon.
Not us.
I reckon I could set up
Their
my.
bosses could be like, yeah, I don't know.
I reckon I could set up a
So we're gonna
GoPro
go.
or something.
So we'll catch you later, guys. Have a good one.